I'm Russ Mitchell. Under fire. Demands that Attorney General Gonzalez clarify his Senate testimony or face a possible perjury charge. CBS News exclusive. Gang members in the military. How real a threat do they pose to civilians on American streets?
You don't consider Columbia, South Carolina as being a place that you're going to have the military influence on our gangs, but we had it.
And against the odds, celebration in Baghdad as Iraq's soccer team wins the Asian Cup.
This is the CBS Evening News with Russ Mitchell.
And good evening. There could be more trouble tonight for Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez. Today, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle warned Gonzalez that he is running out of time to clear up what they call contradictions in his testimony on domestic surveillance. And they're also warning of severe consequences if he does not. Randall Pinkston is in Washington tonight.
U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzalez insists he told the Senate Judiciary Committee the truth. But after his appearance last week, some Republicans,
the Department of Justice would be much better off without him.
And most Democrats have strong doubts.
I think a lot of us, Republicans and Democrats, were incredulous at some of the answers. I told him, frankly, I don't trust him.
Gonzalez's critics are focused on his inconsistent answers about a secret terrorist surveillance program ordered by the White House, which cleared the way for warrantless wiretaps. In 2006, Gonzalez told the Judiciary Committee no one in the Bush administration objected.
There has not been any serious disagreement.
But this May, his former deputy, James Comey, disputed Gonzalez's testimony, saying there had been heated arguments and threats to resign. Last Tuesday, Gonzalez, under withering questioning,
you testified to us that you didn't believe there was serious dissent.
Issued a clarification.
The dissent related to other intelligence activities. The dissent was not about the terrorist surveillance program.
But 2 days later, FBI Director Robert Mueller disputed that statement too.
The discussion was on a national NSA program that has been much discussed, yes.
Today, the New York Times, quoting former government officials, said the other intelligence activities mentioned by Gonzalez involved data mining, such as sifting through millions of credit card and bank accounts. If true, it could give Gonzalez a thin reed to claim he was telling the truth. But CBS legal consultant Andrew Cohen thinks it may be too late for the Attorney General.
I don't know that it even matters whether he officially committed legal perjury or not. You can tell from the way that the senators are interacting with him that they don't believe what he's saying, and he has to do business with them. He has to ask them for money.
With 4 Democrats calling for a special prosecutor, Committee Chairman Patrick Leahy wants to give Gonzalez time to correct his testimony. But Russ, if he doesn't, Leahy says he will seek a bipartisan strategy for the next step.
Randall Pinkston in Washington, thank you very much. A report last week warned of suspicious incidents at some U.S. airports. The government said they might indicate terrorists were conducting dry runs for a possible attack. Tony Guida takes a look at what the U.S. can learn from the very different security approach at Israeli airports.
9 months after terrorists attacked the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, security guards at Washington's airport pulled former Vice President Al Gore out of line and frisked him. The incident highlighted what many counterterrorism experts believe was and still is the fundamental flaw in U.S. airport security.
The system is set up basically to assume that everybody poses equal risk unless the technology tells us they're not.
In other words, the system focuses on stopping bad things, weapons, explosives, rather than bad people. Because, critics say, it is not designed to find bad people.
As somebody is about to kill themselves and take others down with them, they behave differently.
Psychology is the core of what is widely agreed to be the best air security in the world, Israel's. Armed with security profiles, agents talk to each passenger.
By talking with you, they know by your body language, by what you say, and they are not just asking you the normal question, and doesn't matter what you reply.
It's not that Israel lacks for technology. Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport features a super sophisticated face recognition surveillance system designed to instantly identify suspicious persons. Flashy, but no substitute for face-to-face interviews by highly trained agents.
We use in the airport very high educated and motivated people.
And they pay them well. quite different from the U.S. model of lower paid and less educated security agents spending their time confiscating toothpaste and cigarette lighters and watching endless X-ray scans of baggage.
The most important security tool that's out there are human beings and their eyes and their judgment. It's a powerful thing, a brain.
The TSA tells CBS News it does not profile airline passengers as Israel does because it's concerned with personal liberty. Even if it weren't, profiling would be difficult. 700 million airline passengers a year in the United States versus only 11 million in Israel. Tony Guidas, CBS News, New York.
Also this Sunday, the Tour de France bicycle race limped across the finish line in Paris. Spain's Alberto Contador wore the yellow jersey of the champion, while American Levi Leipheimer wound up third. Both moved up after several top riders were caught in a doping scandal. And still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a CBS News investigation. Gang members in the military. Are they recruiting young people on America's streets? And when we come back, why young Americans are training to be doctors in Cuba. Eight Americans graduated from a foreign medical school last week. In exchange for free tuition for 6 years, they pledged to work in low-income neighborhoods back home. That might not be big news, except that the school we're talking about is in Cuba. Kelly Kobiea paid a visit.
It's graduation day at the world's largest medical school, and among the sea of 2,000 graduates in lab coats are 8 Americans, new doctors educated in communist Cuba.
Does this bring back memories?
It does. Anatomy class, second year, I would sit in the front row.
Evelyn Erickson is from Washington Heights in New York City, lured to Cuba's Latin American School of Medicine by the promise of a free education, a gift of sorts from the Cuban government.
Trabajadores de la salud.
Fidel Castro started the school in 1999 to help fill a dire need for doctors in Latin America. Students are trained at no cost in return for their pledge to practice in poor communities back home, an offer extended to a handful of U.S. students in 2001.
This is a dorm?
This is a dorm. You can see clothes hanging and things being,
It's a world away from the U.S. Home for Evelyn and her fellow students was an old army barracks with bunk beds, cold showers, and a $4 a month stipend. And unlike the United States, where students spend 4 years in classrooms and labs, these students spend 6 years in classrooms and clinics.
They were calling me doctor, and I was like, no, I'm not the doctor, I'm the medical student. But what really happens is that we are the people that examine the patients every day from the very beginning.
They also learn about a much different healthcare system documented in the recent Michael Moore film Sicko, where all services are free and everyone is covered.
I was one of the people that was there translating for these patients when they came here to Cuba. And so I was actually there hearing their stories. And I think it proposed a really good question about looking at our medical system and seeing what things we need to change.
Still, Cuba is no healthcare paradise. The hospitals are crumbling. Doctors make about $20 a month. And there are shortages of just about everything, from drugs to high-tech equipment.
Do you think you'll be accepted as a doctor back in the United States with an education from Cuba?
I think so. I would like to believe that we will be.
Evelyn and her fellow graduates face one final hurdle before they can practice in the United States, passing the U.S. medical board exams. But by the looks on their faces, they're not worried a bit. Kelly Kobiea, CBS News, Havana, Cuba.
Britain's Gordon Brown arrived at Camp David late this afternoon for his first meeting as Prime Minister with President Bush. Brown says the tie between London and Washington remains Britain's most important relationship. And just ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a CBS News investigation. Could gangs be using military training against police? Last night, in part one of a CBS News investigation, we showed you evidence of the growing presence of criminal gang members within the U.S. military. Tonight, Thalia Ashuras concludes her exclusive report with a look at the impact military gang activity is having on America's streets.
Like most American cities, Columbia, South Carolina has its share of problems, but nothing prepared Sheriff Leon Lott for what his department discovered last August.
Very scary, very scary.
4 Marines who proudly snapped pictures were recruiting local kids, some as young as 13, into the Crips street gang. Their leader, this man, was a Lance Corporal.
We're having enough problems with our local kids and what they're doing, but to have the Marines, someone who's trained, to come up here and recruit them, and then going to give them the training, the benefits of training they got in the military, then that scares me to death, because it really tells us that we're at war with these gangs.
It's a concern also raised by the FBI. In a recent report, the agency warned military training could ultimately result in more sophisticated and deadly gangs, as well as deadly assaults on law enforcement officers.
CBS News has learned that military police have briefed local authorities in major cities, including New York, about the rising danger that gang members in the military could share their training with gangs on the streets. They could include combat, logistics, even emergency medical skills.
You don't consider Columbia, South Carolina as being a place that you're going to have the military influence on our gangs, but we had it.
It is disconcerting to us, and we are cognizant of this.
Army investigators tell CBS News that there is absolutely no evidence that soldiers are using their combat training in gang activity, nor proof that gangs are sending members into the military to learn such skills. They insist the threat is low.
We're not seeing this in this particular time. We're just not.
This is a theory as far as you're concerned.
That's a theory.
But there was an incident in which a disturbed Marine used his training to kill 2 policemen. In January 2005, the Marine, who police say was associated with the Norteño street gang, shot to death 2 policemen outside a convenience store in California.
It was an ambush. An ambush.
Surveillance video shows him using a technique Marines call cutting the pie. Instead of cowering, he boldly attacks.
The House will be in order.
Congress is considering legislation that would prohibit service members from associating with street gangs. But there are also calls to raise enlistment standards, which have slipped to such an extent that 1 in 10 new Army recruits has a criminal record.
We were able in the 80s and into the 90s to say, you have to be special to serve your country. We're not going to just allow anybody, because this is very difficult work. But now what we're saying is, we're so desperate for people that we're going to take almost anybody we can, as long as we think you can walk through the door.
A short-term solution for the military, a future problem, some say, for police departments in their war against street gangs. Thalia Ashuras, CBS News, The Pentagon.
Coming up on tonight's CBS Evening News, joy in Baghdad as Iraq wins soccer's Asian Cup. 2 U.S. soldiers were killed in combat today in Iraq. But for Iraqis, this was a rare day to feel united as a country after the national soccer team sprang a surprise to win its first Asian Cup. Alan Pizzi is in Baghdad.
A simple header, and against all the odds, perhaps because of them. A team that by any standards defined underdog united their divided homeland and brought joy to a place that defines misery. And when the final whistle blew, Iraq's 1-0 victory over Saudi Arabia sent fans into delirium. They spilled into the streets of Baghdad, firing guns in the air in spite of an official ban. The jubilation was matched in Erbil in the Kurdish north and in Najaf, the Shiite heartland. And for the 2 million Iraqis in exile, the win was almost as good as being home again. Crowds are prime targets for suicide bombers, so the authorities banned traffic. The Asia Cup triumph will not, of course, end the sectarian violence here, but it is still touted as an example of what this country could be. All the world knows what Iraq is now, he says. One excited commentator reordered Iraqi politics.
Yunus Mahmoud, the captain, the leader of his team, the leader of a nation at this precise moment.
The national team players straddle the bitter sectarian divides, Kurd, Sunni, and Shia. Every one of them has lost a family member to the violence here. The team dubbed the Lions of the Two Rivers gave Iraqis a sense of pride and unity that few here have even dreamed of for years. A wondrous release from hatred and violence, if only for a day. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Baghdad.
And we'll be back. And finally tonight, the newest members of baseball's Hall of Fame. Inducted today at Cooperstown were Baltimore Oriole Ironman Cal Ripken Jr., who holds the record for consecutive games played, and San Diego Padre Tony Gwynn, an 8-time batting champion. Congratulations, guys. And that is the CBS Evening News. Later on CBS 60 Minutes, the booming sport of mixed martial arts. Thanks for joining us this Sunday evening. I'm Russ Mitchell, CBS News in New York. I'll see you again first thing tomorrow on The Early Show. Good night.
CBS News. Experience you can trust.